Wix and Qui, to princesses from the distant and technologically advanced planet of Ilyara, were assigned one of the most critical missions in their empire's history: covertly investigate Earth. Humanity was on the brink of major technological breakthroughs, and their leaders feared that humans could become either a dangerous threat or a potential ally in intergalactic diplomacy. Wix and Qui, among the most talented explorers of their generation, were chosen not only for their bravery, but for their adaptability and intelligence. They had spent months observing human society from afar, blending into crowds during the night and flying low over cities and oceans in their sleek, camouflaged spacecraft. Their task was to collect data, avoid detection, and report back to their fleet without interference. Earth fascinated them. Each night, they roamed different landscapes: tropical forests, neon-lit cities, and quiet coastal towns. The chaotic beauty of the human world intrigued them. Unlike their carefully ordered home planet, Earth was wild and unpredictable, a place of contrasts and contradictions. Humanity's ingenuity astonished them, but so did its recklessness. The sisters debated endlessly: was Earth a danger that needed containment, or could humans become partners in a larger cosmic alliance? However, they knew that their mission came with great risks. If they were discovered, it could jeopardize not only their mission, but relations between their worlds. Every night, as they slipped away in their invisible craft, they carried the weight of this responsibility. But despite the pressures, the thrill of discovery kept them moving forward. The stars above Earth felt closer, more vivid than they ever did back home. For Wix and Qui, these nights on Earth became more than just reconnaissance; they became adventures. But one fateful night, everything changed. They were preparing to launch their spacecraft from a hidden cove along the stormy Atlantic coast when a sudden malfunction threw everything into chaos. The engines sputtered, systems flickered, and alarms blared across the control panels. Wix's hands flew over the controls, trying to stabilize the ship, while Qui worked to reroute power. But the malfunction spread like wildfire through the ship's systems. Within moments, they lost all control. The sleek craft, usually a marvel of Elluran engineering, was now a failing wreck hurtling toward the sea. With a deafening crash, the ship smashed into the churning waves, sending shockwaves through the cold ocean. It began to sink almost instantly, water pouring through the cracked hull and broken windows. Wix fought the controls in vain, but every attempt to restart the engines only made the situation worse. Qui sealed off as many compartments as she could, but the water rose faster than they could react. Panic began to set in. Despite all their training, nothing had prepared them for the terror of being stranded on an alien world, helpless and alone, with no way to call for help. "We'll get out of this," Wix whispered, gripping her sister's hand tightly. But her voice wavered, betraying the fear she tried to hide. The cold seawater now reached their chests, and the control panels had gone dark. In the eerie silence, as the ship groaned under the weight of the ocean, the sisters exchanged a look that said everything. This might be the end. Far from home, surrounded by darkness, they could only wait for the cold abyss to claim them. But just when all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of light appeared, cutting through the stormy night like a beacon. A small fishing boat was making its way toward them, its lone occupant struggling to steer through the towering waves. The man aboard the vessel was Rick, a former space scientist whose life had unraveled after his controversial theories on extraterrestrial life were mocked by the scientific community. Broken by the ridicule, Rick had abandoned his career and retreated from society, spending his days drifting along the ocean, staring at the stars and dreaming of what might have been. That night, the storm had pushed Rick off his usual course, and by pure chance, he spotted the strange glow beneath the waves. As soon as he realized what he was looking at, a vessel unlike anything human, made his heart leapt. This was the proof he had spent his life searching for. Rick acted without hesitation. Battling the fierce storm, he guided his boat as close to the wreck as possible. With the waves crashing against the hull, he knew time was running out. Grabbing a flashlight, ropes, and a crowbar, Rick plunged into the freezing water, determined to reach the ship before it sank completely. The ocean fought against him, dragging him under again and again, but Rick pushed forward. When he reached the wreck, he hammered on what looked like a hatch, praying that whoever or whatever was inside could hear him. To his amazement, the hatch slowly opened and two figures emerged, alien, elegant, and unmistakably otherworldly. Their large, luminous eyes locked onto his, filled with equal parts fear and disbelief. Without wasting a second, Rick grabbed the two princesses by the arms and pulled them through the hatch. The cold water swirled around them, but somehow they made it to the surface. Gasping for breath, Wix and Qui collapsed onto Rick's boat just as their own ship disappeared beneath the waves forever. For a long moment, the three of them lay on the deck, drenched and shivering, the storm raging around them. Wix and Qui exchanged glances, struggling to process what had just happened. They had prepared for countless scenarios, but never for being saved by a human. Rick, meanwhile, stared at the two aliens in disbelief, his mind racing to catch up with reality. The proof he had sought for so long was sitting right in front of him. Over the next few hours, as the storm calmed and the boat drifted on the open sea, the sisters and Rick began to talk. They told him about their mission, their world, and the importance of keeping their presence on Earth a secret. Rick, in turn, shared his story, the ridicule, the rejection, and the lifelong dream of finding life beyond Earth. Wix and Qui saw something in Rick that surprised them, a kindred spirit. Though human, he understood the stars better than most of his kind. His knowledge of astronomy and space science impressed them, and his kindness touched them in ways they hadn't expected. With no way to retrieve their sunken ship, Wix and Qui contacted their fleet using a small emergency beacon. When their superiors responded, they were skeptical about allowing a human to accompany them. But the sisters were firm. Rick had saved their lives and earned their trust. They would not leave him behind. The alien cruiser arrived at dawn, shimmering into view above the ocean. A beam of light enveloped the small fishing boat, lifting it effortlessly into the ship's massive hangar. Rick, still in awe, stood beside Wix and Qui as they prepared to leave Earth behind. From that day forward, Rick's life became a whirlwind of discovery and wonder. No longer was he the lonely drifter who stared longingly at the stars from Earth's oceans. Now he was living among them, hurtling through the cosmos alongside Wix and Qui. Their cruiser, the Sci-Fi, was a marvel of Elluran technology, a colossal starship powered by quantum reactors and equipped with tools beyond Rick's wildest dreams. Its corridors glowed with bioluminescent patterns, and vast observation decks offered breathtaking views of distant nebulae and swirling galaxies. For the first few days, Rick struggled to adjust. Traveling at faster-than-light speeds, visiting new planets, and interacting with non-human species made him feel as though he had stepped into a dream. The princesses introduced him to their crew, a diverse group of Elluran explorers, diplomats, and scientists. Some regarded him with suspicion, reluctant to trust an Earthling, but others were curious, fascinated by his insights into human science and his intuitive understanding of exploration. That at first, Rick was overwhelmed by the scope of the missions. Every day brought new challenges, from navigating asteroid fields to decoding ancient alien languages left behind by long-extinct civilizations. But Wix and Qui stood by his side, helping him adapt. The sisters were not just princesses, they were brilliant explorers in their own right. Wix, the more analytical of the two, taught Rick how to interpret Elluran star maps and navigate interstellar space. Qui, with her intuitive approach, introduced him to alien cultures and showed him how to communicate across species barriers. Together, the three of them became an unstoppable team. They faced missions that required diplomacy, cunning, and courage, negotiating with wary alien factions, rescuing stranded colonists on desolate moons, and unraveling the secrets of ancient artifacts hidden deep within forgotten worlds. On one such mission, they discovered a massive derelict station orbiting a dying star. Inside, they found encrypted data from a long-lost civilization, knowledge that could revolutionize galactic technology. It was Rick's understanding of Earth's own cryptography techniques that allowed them to unlock the data, a feat that impressed even the most skeptical members of the Elluran crew. But not all missions were peaceful. As they ventured deeper into uncharted regions of space, they encountered hostile forces, pirate fleets, rogue AI constructs, and creatures born from the vacuum of space. In one harrowing encounter, their ship was ambushed by a swarm of marauders who wanted to steal their advanced technology. With their shields failing and escape impossible, it was Rick who came up with a daring plan. Using his knowledge of human physics and quick improvisation, he rewired part of the ship's reactor to generate an electromagnetic pulse. The pulse disabled the marauders' weapons just long enough for the crew to escape, earning Rick the respect of even the toughest Elyaran officers. Over time, Rick's presence on the ship began to change the way the crew saw him and humans in general. Many of them had dismissed Earth as a primitive, reckless world, but through Rick, they saw humanity's resilience, creativity, and spirit. The bonds of trust deepened, and the ship's commander, a wise and cautious Elyaran named Lord Zarek, came to rely on Rick as an advisor. Rick also grew closer to Wix and Qui in ways he hadn't expected. The princesses, once bound by duty and the weight of royal expectations, found joy in sharing their adventures with someone who saw the universe with the same awe and curiosity they did. In quiet moments between missions, they confided in Rick, revealing their hopes, fears, and dreams. Wix, despite her sharp intellect, admitted that she sometimes felt overwhelmed by the responsibility placed upon her as a leader. Qui, though cheerful and outgoing, confessed that she worried about losing herself in the demands of royal duty. Rick, in turn, shared his own struggles, his regrets about abandoning his career, his loneliness after years of rejection, and his fear that he didn't belong in their world. But the princesses reassured him that he had earned his place, not just by saving their lives, but by becoming their friend and equal. They weren't just three individuals thrown together by fate. They were a team, united by trust, loyalty, and a shared sense of purpose. Their bond deepened further on one fateful mission, when they were sent to investigate a distress signal coming from a forgotten world on the edge of known space. The planet, shrouded in mystery, was said to be cursed at a place where entire crews had vanished without a trace. Despite the danger, Wix, Qui, and Rick volunteered for the mission, determined to uncover the truth. When they arrived, they found the ruins of an ancient civilization, abandoned for millennia. Strange energies pulsed through the air, distorting time and space, making it difficult to navigate. As they explored the ruins, they were separated by powerful electromagnetic storms that disrupted their communications. Rick found himself lost in a labyrinth of alien structures, haunted by strange visions and shadows that seemed to shift around him. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, he heard Qui's voice, faint but determined, calling out through the interference. Following her voice, he reunited with the princesses just as the ruins began to collapse. Working together, they deciphered an ancient control system and shut down the energy field that had trapped them. Escaping the collapsing ruins by mere seconds, they returned to the Serapha, their bond stronger than ever. After that mission, Rick realized something profound. He wasn't just tagging along on these journeys, he was part of something greater than himself. He belonged with Wix and Qui, not just as a crewmate, but as family. They weren't just exploring the universe, they were building a future together, one where Earth and Elyara might one day stand side by side as allies. As the years passed, their adventures took them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, where they encountered wonders beyond imagination, cities built on the backs of colossal space creatures, star systems that sang with cosmic music, and black holes that held gateways to other dimensions. Through it all, Wix, Qui, and Rick faced every challenge together, knowing that no matter how vast the universe might be, they would always have each other. And one day, as they stood on the observation deck of their ship, watching a new star being born in the distant reaches of space, Rick knew that he had found more than just proof of life beyond Earth. He had found a place where he belonged, a place among the stars, with two sisters who had become his closest companions, and a future as bright and infinite as the galaxy itself.